So today we'll be drawing our very own value scale. All you'll need to do, and you could use a ruler for this, but you don't have to, is to draw one line across your page and measure out 9 rectangles. In this case, I'm just using my thumb and I'm measuring out little rectangles in each section, just with straight lines. And that carries me to the edge of my paper. And that's just what the plan was all along. Okay, from there, it might help you to do this first, and it sure does help me. I'm just gonna write mid-tone under number 5. This should be the gray, the middle gray for everything else. This number 1 is the darkest, so I'm gonna write darkest, dark, and number 9, it will be the lightest light. So I'm gonna write lightest, and I'm gonna put whites down, and from there I'm thinking what number 4 and number 6 are. Number 4 and 6 are the lightest and the darkest in their own range. So this is a range of itself. So is this one here. This is the light. This is the dark side and the light side. And number 4 is going to be the lightest dark. And number 6 is going to be the darkest light. And in my value scale, I made the mistake of writing lightest white and darkest white. But I want you to think of a value scale not having to do with color, but the way light goes to dark instead. So remember to write darkest light and lightest light instead. And you can make your boxes any size you want depending on the amount of filling in you want. So for our value scale, that is completely and entirely up to you. I'm going to go for the mid-tone gray. And to achieve a nice, even middle tone, I'm going to blend this pencil in 2 different directions. I'm going to go diagonal as well as straight across to give an overall even look. And there are some sections that are a little splotchy, but don't worry about that. Okay, from there, I'm going to go and fill in the other areas. So the darker, this way, it gets darker, and this way, it gets lighter. So I'm adding more pressure when I move to the lightest dark, but not so much that it goes to number 1. And this will take a lot of practice. In fact, it still takes me practice to get the effect I'm looking for, that tone in the value scale. And now I'm going to go for even heavier pressure. It's easy to become impatient and want things to look different right away. But just as you wait patiently to eat a slice of pizza that comes out of the oven before you burn your mouth, you want to also be the same amount of patient when you're blending and using value, because if you go too dark too fast or too light too fast, it will look very rushed, like you didn't give your time and attention to making sure it was a gradual shift. Don't rush the process. Have faith in yourself and know that it will happen over time, gradually. Number 2 is much darker than number 3, but I still need to make number 1 the finale. So I'm not going to give number 2 all I've got. I'm going to wait for number 1 to really be, whoa, that got really dark. So my hand is getting tired, and you can see that my boxes are very big. So if I were you, do the boxes closer to the size of your own hand. I measured my thumb, so you should measure your thumb for this, and don't go bigger because bigger isn't better. And you really want your main focus to be on gradual shifts in value. And something you can also do is tilt your paper to really peek at a different angle to see, do you see it getting darker? Is it getting darker? Yes, it is. So that means we're doing our jobs. So in this case, what I'm going to do is encourage you to do this as well. You put a piece of paper down to protect the page that is there when you're using value. You really don't want to smudge all of the hard work that you've just done. So it's oftentimes really good for artists who use value in their artwork to have something that protects the paper from any smudges. Alrighty, so there we have the darker side, and now I'm going to use the force and go for lighter pressure in the darkest of light. So you notice my hand was smudging on my paper, and it was actually putting pencil down on there. So I want to clean that up, and I'm going to repeat the process. Make sure that I have my smudge proof section here, and this is the mid-tone gray. So I'm going lighter than this mid-tone right here. So even lighter. Oh, I was still thinking about dark. So I'm going to go even lighter. If that was there, I'm going to do a test swatch here. I'm going to go to there. Don't go too heavy-handed on this side. Remember, we're going lighter this direction. So I'm going to go lighter each time, putting less and less pressure down inside each of those remaining boxes. And then the final touch is this lightest light. And to clean up everything. And there you have a value scale using 9 boxes. It goes from the darkest to the lightest. And you can add one more kind of value scale if you want to. So for this value scale, I'm using the edge of my paper that I didn't use before. And I put my pencil down on the paper, and as soon as it touches the page, it doesn't come off the page until it goes all the way from the darkest dark to the lightest light. And this could be a really great exercise if you want to challenge yourself to see how much pressure you can put down on the page and how little of pressure you can get to really have the lightest of light in your scale. So once you've stretched yourself and created that band from darkest to lightest, you divide it into 9 sections and label 1 to 9. And remember, 1 is the darkest of dark, and 9 is the lightest of light. And number 5 is middle tone gray. And you have yourself 2 variations on the value scale to try yourself before moving on. So enjoy this process, and I look forward to seeing what you do.